कर लीजिए, रिकॉर्डिंग शुरू हो गया, ठीक है, आप म्यूट कर दीजिए। अगर आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम आए, कोई क्वेश्चन आए बीच में, देन यू प्लीज आस्क, ठीक है, otherwise you keep mute so that the background noise is not there. So today we'll deal with the topic roller drum drying techniques. Okay, we had discussed about this topic, we had touched upon this topic in the previous lecture. You do one thing, you open your mic, otherwise I will not understand whether you're getting my voice or not, or it will be a one-sided conversation. So you start your mic.
Okay. Yeah,
so last time we discussed about the principle or the working principle of roller drum drying technique. Okay, so basically,
yes,
as we discussed previously, what we do, we put a thin film of concentrated milk on a smooth surface of drum drying roller, and this roller is rotated. Now it is heated with the help of steam at 60 to 70 psi pressure, and the roller is maintained at 150 degrees centigrade. Okay, then a thin film or a thin layer of concentrated or pre-condense, means concentrated milk is poured over the drum. Then that particular liquid stays, that concentrated milk stays in contact with the drum for less than 3 seconds of time, and the drum rotates at about 14 to 17 RPM, revolutions per minute. Then, with the help of a knife placed at an angle of 15 to 30 degrees centigrade, the dried milk layer is scraped off, and then this layer of dried milk is converted into a powder. Okay, so this is how the basic principle of the drum roller drying technique is functions. So as you can see in this particular slide, I have given you the whole flow down. Milk can be concentrated about 2:1. Okay, having milk which is being poured, that has around 16 to 18%. Then we go for feeding means pouring that particular concentrated milk over the dryer, over the roller. Now this feeding can be done in a few ways. First of all is that we take a truck or reservoir and we feed and we pour that concentrated milk over the over the roller directly. Okay, like we directly roll that concentrated milk over the roller. One is this method. Second is spraying or splashing. What we do, that with help of a sprayer or sprinkler, the concentrated milk is poured over the roller. Is that clear? And then it comes.
Yes,
second is dip feeding. What we do is that a part of the roller, of the heated roller, is dipped inside the concentrated milk and then it's lifted up. So the only that portion which has come in contact with the heated roller, that gets dried up. Okay, we dip it and we lift it up. Okay, and then trough below the pan feeding means what we do is that the roller is there and then there is a pan below it. Okay, so milk is poured up, whichever comes in contact is fine, and rest all gets down in the pan again, and this process repeated. So there are basically four methods of application of concentrated milk in the roller for drying purposes. Is this clear, these four techniques? Or should I repeat it again?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Fine, okay. Then comes drum drying. So the drum, which is heated by steam and is maintained at 150 degrees centigrade, that dries the milk whichever comes in its contact. The scraper. What is, it's a knife. The knife is made up of a material which is softer than the surface of the drum. Otherwise, what will happen, that while scraping the milk, the drum will also get scraped. So knife is always of a softer material, so that the drum is not destroyed. The drum surface is not destroyed. Then the keeper placed at a degree of 15 to 30 degrees at an angle of 15 to 30 degrees scrapes off the milk layer. Okay, this milk layer is later on grind into a powder, sifted so that the powder we obtain is of particle size, and then the dried product is packed. Is this clear? These steps.
Yes, ma'am.
Then we come on the types of roller drum. Now, depending upon the types of roller, number of rollers, or the atmosphere, or say the movement of the roller, there are different types of drum rollers. So first is depending upon the drums. Now, the drum which is used for drying purpose of milk, they are basically hollow. They are solid drums, hollow drums. Because in that hollow is ejected and that steam gets into the drum. Okay, here. So depending upon the number of drums, we classify it as single drum, that is only 1%, and then there is the double drum. Please go to a different room or somewhere where the disturbance is a little bit less.
Okay, ma'am. I'm trying. Is it okay, ma'am?
Is it fine? That is fine. Then comes when we have two rollers. So it can be twin roller or double roller. Okay. So what happens in twin roller is, think that there is one center. Okay. And these are two rollers. So what happens in twin rollers? It moves towards the center. Okay. It moves towards the center. Whereas double roller, what happens is that there is one center and the rollers move in away from the center. Okay, that point goes away
Yes,
from.
ma'am.
Okay, in twin rollers there is a center and the roller moves towards the center, and in double there is a center and the roller moves away from the center. Is this clear? How?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then comes the environment. The environment, either the environment in which the drying takes place, it has the normal atmospheric composition as the surroundings. The atmospheric drying, that is the air or okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That this vacuum is either I'll come later on the types of on the methods of creating vacuum. So depending upon the method of creating vacuum, also the roller dryers are differentiated. Those we'll take up in the next slide. So depends upon the direction of drums. So number of drums, that is single, twin, or double. Okay. Then I explain to you the direction of turning of drums. Okay. In the direction
Yes, ma'am.
of drums, turn up at the center, away from the top. Okay. So turn up at the center. So it should be turn up at the center and away from the top. And double is turn up at the center together at the top. Okay. So it goes together.
Yes,
and it goes away. Okay. It goes away and the double goes together. Fine.
ma'am.
Then comes method of feeding the product. So I gave you 4 methods on how the condensed milk is feed or sprayed or poured or dryer. Okay. So based on those 4 types also, the dryers are classified. Okay. One is we pour from the top, another is we spray, third is we dip, and fourth is we pour, and then the rest of the material comes down and it takes up on a pan. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear? Am I going too fast?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I still down?
No, ma'am. It's okay, ma'am.
Okay, you are able to understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then is the method of creation of vacuum. As I told you, there are two types, based upon the environment, there are 2 types of dryers. One is the vacuum dryer, another is the environmental dryer. So on the method how vacuum is obtained, again there are 2 types of dryers. Okay, one is steam ejector. The air inside the chamber, because it's a vacuum dryer, so it has to be a closed chamber. So the closed chamber, what we do, the air inside of it is heated. So the air converts to steam and that steam is ejected out. Clear? So one method of
Yes, ma'am.
creation is steam ejector. Second is vacuum pump. What happens that the air is pumped out by a vacuum pump. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then depending upon the type of material used for making the drum, we have different kinds of rollers. So the materials used are cast iron, which is the most commonly used one. Okay. Then comes steel. Steel, stainless steel, and chrome nickel plated. So based upon the materials used for making the drum technique is differentiated. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So any confusion in these two slides? That is types of rollers, number of hollow drums.
Ma'am,
हाँ, बोलिए.
ma'am, slide is not showing, ma'am.
Slide you are not able to see?
No, ma'am. Just there is topic, just drum drying of milk. The slide is not moving.
You are not able to see principle and everything?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
I
just
thought you were just
no, 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 no,
verbally asking, ma'am.
no. Just, I'll again start sharing it. In the last lecture, were you able to see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in this also I'll be able. Just a minute. Now can you see types?
No, ma'am.
Principle?
Means just a topic is there, just a drum drying of milk. Just
Okay, that is the
then,
first
ma'am.
slide.
Slide is not coming.
And then second slide, principle and working.
No, ma'am. Slide is not coming.
Try again. If by chance you are not able to see the slide, I'll share the slide with you. Okay, you can go
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and then any confusion we can discuss. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you see now functioning?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, okay, can you understand whatever I'm speaking? Then I'll go a bit slow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So,
Yes, ma'am.
it continue like this. Next time I'll take a note that why is it so happening, because in the last lecture you were able to see the slides. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
now, based on whatever we have discussed, we have to keep a few things in mind. First of all, the most commonly used drum material used for making drums in the roller drying technique is cast iron. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Second, the knife used for scraping down the dried milk is made up of a material which is softer than the metal made for making the roller. Because if the material made for making the knife is harder than that of the roller, what will happen? While scraping of the milk, the metal will also get scraped up, and that is not our object. We only need scraped milk. Okay, so the object
Yes, ma'am.
made the metal with which the knife is made should always be softer than that with which the drum is made. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we have to maintain a sharp knife for this purpose, as well as we have to maintain a smooth drum surface. So, knife is started after every 100 working hours. Okay? Whereas
Okay, ma'am.
the drum is moved every 1,000 hours of working. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Most usual way of feeding or of application of condensed milk feeding the roller is top feed system. That is, we take a trough, we pour the condensed milk in the trough, and then from the trough, the condensed milk is fed or poured over the surface of the dryer. That is the most commonly used technique. Okay, less spraying, dipping, and pan drying is used. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the most commonly used dryer in the industry is the double drum atmospheric dryer. Double drum, is that clear? The method of
Yes, ma'am.
and atmospheric drum. That is the most commonly used one. Okay. In
Yes, ma'am.
these points are clear to you? Now for the drum also, a few specifications are taken into consideration. Okay. One is hollow. Why hollow? Because if it's hollow drum, then the heating of the drum surface via steam mode, what you say, uniform. You'll put steam inside the hollow of the drum, and the outer part of the drum, the hollow of the drum will get heated uniformly. Result, the outer surface will get heated uniformly. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is that the drums which are placed, they are placed horizontally. Okay, they are not placed vertically, they are placed horizontally. So they turn around. So this is the most common, like this is the only way of placing the drums. They are placed horizontally. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So what happens when the drum should, the length of the drum should be 360 meters, 90 centimeters or 360 centimeters, and the diameter should be from 60 to 120 centimeters. But speed of the drum should be 14 to 19 revolutions per minute. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Double drum, both the drums should work at the same speed. It should not happen that one drum is moving faster and the other one is moving slower. Both the drums should work at the same speed. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
The contact time between the drum and the concentrated milk should not be more than 3 seconds. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And while pouring, it should not cover more than 3/4 or 7/8 of the drum. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the steam used for heating the drum should have a pressure of 60 to 70 psi, and the drum should be maintained at a temperature of 150 degrees centigrade. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
When we use double drums, both the drums are placed 0.5 to 0.5 millimeters apart. That should be the difference between the two drums, 0.5 to 0.75 millimeters. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
As I told you earlier, that the drum's surface should be checked every 100 to every 1,000 to 3,000 hours of working or operation. Clear? Now, when the drum
Yes, ma'am.
is used, it should be lined either by oil or by paraffin wax so that moisture does not spoil the smooth surface. All these topics are clear? All these points are
Yes,
clear?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now comes how do we process the milk before it is fed on the roller dryer. So what we do is we don't use directly. We don't use the milk as is. We always concentrate the milk before pouring it into the over the dryer. Okay. Now this milk concentrated at the ratio of 2:1, so that the total solid percentage is always 16 is to 18%. Now, why do we use this concentrated milk over the roller? So, first reason is that when we thicken it, it's more viscous. Now, that thick viscous milk poured over the roller, that will provide a more thick dried film. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Second is thermal economy. So, what happens is when we heat the roller, we heat the roller as a whole. It's not that we are heating one part. Heating is uniform. Okay. So when we pour a thick viscous liquid over the roller, the liquid spreads more. Okay, so a bigger part of the roller is covered. So the heated part of the roller, more it is covered, the more heat is utilized. It is not wasted because heat will transfer. It will either transfer via a milk or it will transfer into the atmosphere. Okay, so what will happen
Yes,
is
ma'am.
that more is the coverage of the liquid over the roller, more heat will be utilized. It will not be wasted. So thermal economy increases. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So when more surface area is covered, then what happens? That more amount of dried milk is obtained during a particular time. So the capacity of
Mm,
drives also increases because you are able to
mm,
use more of the surface. Okay.
mm,
Then when we concentrate the milk, the powder which is formed, it has a greater bulk density because
mm,
the total solid fraction increases in a particular particle. Okay.
mm. Yes,
And
ma'am.
because and when we concentrate the milk, the dried milk we obtain has a greater or better keeping quality. Clear?
Mm. Yes, ma'am.
As I told you, there were two types of drying techniques. One was the vacuum drying technique and another was the atmospheric drying technique. Okay,
Mm,
now we will compare the vacuum drying technique to the atmospheric drying technique. Okay, so there is a few merits and demerits of the vacuum drying technique over the atmospheric drying technique. The merits are that the powder obtained by vacuum drying technique has higher solubility and keeping quality. Okay,
mm. Yes,
but
ma'am.
the vacuum drying technique, the plant is expensive. Like setting up the plant is an expensive procedure. So more capital is required while we try to build up that particular plant. Fine. Then there is high
Yes, ma'am.
operational cost. Operational cost is high because we have to first create vacuum. So that
Mm,
operational cost is added up. Okay. Uh, the
mm,
plant is complicated because we have to maintain a particular condition, that is we have to maintain vacuum. The plant becomes complicated. It needs more time, more engineering to maintain that plant. And fourth is that it cannot be easily relocated. Okay, so since it is a
yes, ma'am.
closed setup, it cannot be easily relocated. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
As you had, if you can recall, in the previous, I talked about two drying techniques. One is the roller drying technique, another is the spray drying technique, right? If you
Mm,
remember from the last
mm,
class. So now I will tell you certain advantages and disadvantages of the roller drying technique over the spray drying technique. Okay, that why should we go for roller drying technique over and above the spray drying technique? So the first is the advantage is that roller drying technique is cheaper, better. The
mm.
capital required, the investment required is less, and the operating cost is also less. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
particular plant will be set up in a small big area to set up a roller drying plant. Okay,
Mm,
next is it is easy to operate as compared to spray drying technique. Roller drying technique is easier to operate.
mm,
Now, this roller drying technique is suitable for operating on small quantities of milk.
mm,
Becomes more economical. Roller drying technique becomes economical when the amount of milk is less. Okay. Roller
yes, ma'am.
drying technique produces milk which is of better keeping quality. Okay. Is this clear? Nitish, are you there?
Okay, ma'am.
Nitish, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So the milk powder produced is of better keeping quality. And lastly, what happens is that it is a plant which can be set up in a low capital income. It is easy to operate. The amount of investment required for its running is less. Okay, and even
Mm,
small amount of milk can be processed by the system as it becomes a more economically viable system. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, then what are the disadvantages? The product we obtain has lower solubility. The keeping quality is good, but the solubility is poor. If you remember, I told you that the powder obtained by drum drying technique has solubility of 15, whereas that obtained by spray drying technique, the solubility is 2, if you remember. So the product will have more solubility. And sometimes when we go for roller drying techniques, we develop a typical cooked or burnt flavor whenever that milk is reconstituted. So the powder is created. When we reconstitute the milk, that is, we add water to make it liquid again. Okay. So the end product, it sometimes develops a cooked or burnt flavor. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So any conclusion? I think you could not see the screen, but still, if I will send you the PowerPoint, okay, you go
Okay,
through.
ma'am.
If any confusion, we'll take up in the next class.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
should I end the meeting? You have any confusion?
Okay. No, ma'am. I'm just sitting with the PPT, ma'am. I will go through it.
Send you the PPT of the last lecture as well as this lecture. Okay.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
So I'm ending this meeting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Right.